everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, aka Beth Bookish, and on today's video I am bringing you all of the books that ended in the trash. This is a shirt that I got recently. I love it so much, and I thought what could be more fitting for DNFs than a shirt that says stay trashy, because these were, to me, trashy books and didn't deserve finishing. So they've ended up in like the trash. They're not literally being, well, one is being thrown away because the book is literally falling apart as I pick it up. So that one will be going in the recycling, but the rest are going to be donated to my local charity shops. Anyway, hello, hi, how are you doing? I am a serial DNF'er. I used to be someone who hated to DNF a book. I used to force myself to finish everything that I picked up because I thought it was only fair that I give the book its full rating. Nowadays, I will DNF a book in the first sentence. If it's not immediately bringing me joy or sustaining my attention or making me want to pick it up, it's not worth it. And life is too short and there are far too many books to be worrying about forcing myself to read things that I'm not enjoying. So kudos to you if you are someone who pushes through no matter what. I do not have the time, patience, energy, or anger management to do that. I have DNF'd a fair few books, probably a few more than I usually do, because I have really been struggling all year, and I've said it multiple times and I hate that I am saying it again, but I have been struggling all year with a really bad reading slump. Hopefully by the end of December I will hit book 40, but a lot of those books have been very small, short books, and I've just not wanted to pick things up, and yeah, I've been really struggling. It's been more of a manga graphic novel year for me than a novel year, and my reading mood hasn't been great. My real life mood hasn't been great. There's been a lot of depression this year, so there's been a lot of DNFs. The very first one that I DNF'd was The Start of Something by Miranda Dickinson in, I think it was like February. I just did not care. I got, I think, 5 or 6 chapters in. Neither of these characters had a personality. I think it would have been more exciting to watch paint dry. And considering both of their backstories, one's a single parent that's just moved into a flat. The other one is an army veteran who's going through a lot of physio and a lot of therapy because of the stuff that he has seen, and is a disabled ambulatory wheelchair user. And yet, even though both of them had these things, they were boring as shit, and the romance, just nothing happened. I was not interested, so I gave that one up very quickly. Next up we have one that unfortunately was an ARC that I was sent, and that was A Prince Without Sorrow by Maitri Wijesekara. And the cover on this is stunning. I really wanted to love it. It sounded great. But honestly, I think I got about 40 pages in and I just wasn't caring. The world building and character introductions were a bit lackluster, and the prose was just a bit clumsy. Sentences, I don't know, in my brain as I was reading, it felt like I was just hitting a wall constantly, and I really struggled to sink into this one. So I put it down thinking I will come back to it, and it's now been 8 months and I have no intention of coming back to it. So sadly this one will be leaving. Another ARC, unfortunately I've got a couple of ARCs on here, but another ARC that I also DNF'd for various reasons was Homegrown Magic. I can't remember the author names, but the cover will be up here. A couple of chapters in, I didn't find the main character, Yael, was just not likable, and I didn't enjoy their perspective at all. I then heard whisperings on the social media horizon of some issues with the book, and I did a little bit of a looky look, and there was quite a lot of complaint and a lot of issue with the fact that the main character had a Jewish sounding name and was being portrayed as being from a family that were these horrible bankers that were really corrupt with money, and there was quite a lot of discourse on how Jewish stereotypes were being demonized in this book. So if you aren't aware of the Jewish community or things, you may not have realized, but those that were like, hang on a minute, something's not right here. And I thought, you know what, I'm already not overly enjoying this, and now I'm seeing this coming out. Maybe I'll just skip this one, and yeah, that's what I did. One that I was bitterly resentful that I DNF'd because I had such high hopes for this. It's one of my best friend's all-time favourite author and all-time favourite series, and I was so excited because it's flintlock fantasy that I've never read before, and it sounded so cool, and it has a lot of the things that I enjoy in it. And I gave up, and that is Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. I did not like that the only woman of significance in this book is mute. I did not like that the second woman of significance was reduced to a very specific stereotype. I did not like that the third woman that was introduced by her breasts first and the size of them. Despite the fact that she was a soldier wearing armour, they went with her breasts. And that's just the start. Like, I will say, there were some moments that I did enjoy. There were characters that I really did like and was really intrigued by and wanted to know more. And there were a couple of humorous moments, but I really hated how the actual story was written in this. It had good world building and things, but the plot was so blurry. And we were constantly looking back in time. So we would go to a scene and we would be joining that scene just after the action had happened, and then they were telling us what had just happened. And it's like, I'm sorry, I would rather have been shown that action and followed it as it was happening. Why are we constantly being told things afterwards? And what? No, I did not like it at all. And I also really didn't like the fact that we keep being told how Tamas, one of the main characters, is this incredible general that's absolutely the best in the world at strategic planning and all of this, and yet everything we saw of him was him fumbling and bumbling and making silly mistakes. And I'm like, okay, where's this amazing great general that you're telling us about? Because I'm not seeing him. So yeah, I had some pretty big issues with this, and I've realised, while I love the idea of this, and if I can find books that are similar to this, I will absolutely give them a go. This author and this story in particular just was not it for me, and I'm really gutted by that. And then just straight off the back of that, another one that I was absolutely soul crushed and destroyed at, and it wasn't just me because Jonah also was with me on this one, but where I DNF'd, he persevered, and I was then learning the story through him. And I was so glad that I DNF'd because I would have hunted this author down to smack him. And that was Blackheart Nights by Law Eve. I loved Blackheart Ghosts by Law Eve. I loved Blackheart Nights. I thought this was going to become like my personality for the next 20 years. And the first book was so good. It had such a satisfying conclusion. It left me hungry for more. And then I got to, I think, 33%. I got about a third of the way through the sequel, and it basically was rehashing the same tropes and the same format of doing this dual timeline, but it didn't need to. And it was bringing in characters that I felt were unnecessary. We were focusing on characters that I didn't even know why we were focusing on. And even from what Jonah said about the ending, I was like, I know that this would not have gotten any better for me, and the problems I had would have stayed. It felt like I was jumping into the start of another series, but no one told me. And I was like, wait, what? No, the writing quality went down, the characters, none of them were likable. The story had such a huge ending at the end of the first book and such a lackluster start in the sequel that didn't even really properly address what happened at the end, because I was expecting madness at the start of this. I was expecting panic and stress and people being like, what the? And it was almost like everyone was asleep. And so was I. I couldn't do it. So I gave up and just let Jonah revel in that pain. If I can find the links to both of us having our crash outs, if I can remember what months they were in, I will link them below. We both had very valid crash outs over this book. One that I didn't, and I was very, very glad to DNF very quickly. 2024, I went to Edinburgh for my birthday, and I decided while I'm here, I'm going to pick up a book of Scottish poetry because Scotland is very famous for its poets and its poetry. And I picked up The Bone Library by Jenny Fagan. I tried to read 2 poems, and after sending them to multiple people who all agreed that I very quickly was like, no, poetry and me are not a thing. We do not get on. And it has now got a new home with someone who I do believe will love it, who does love poetry and doesn't get annoyed and confused when they try to read it. Another one I DNF'd very, very quickly was The Clockwork Scarab by Colleen Gleeson. I was really looking forward to this one because it was Sherlock Holmes' sister and Stoker, like Bram Stoker, like a relative of that, and they were coming together to do a murder mystery thing, and there was going to be supernatural elements, and instead within a chapter it became one of them barely getting any page time and then the other one telling us over and over again about how incredibly intelligent she was. Then every single deduction she made was already being made by the police officer that turned up, who by the way was pretty hot, and I immediately knew where this was going, and I was like, this is just going to become her lusting after him for this entire book while everything else becomes irrelevant, and I wasn't here for it. It was not what I thought it was going to be, and I just jumped out very, very quickly on that one. And then another one that I also DNF'd very, very quickly, The Wrath and the Dawn by Renée Ahdieh. I only read the first 2 or 3 chapters and I just knew this wasn't going to be one for me. If I'd have picked it up 5 years ago when I first got it, I would have loved it and probably would have enjoyed it. But I didn't enjoy the setup, and then when it started to have it's one of these stories where in between their stories there's chapters where she's telling another tale. And that's not my favourite thing in books. I don't really like it when that happens, when you get interjections of another story. I just prefer to be focusing on one story, which is the story that I've picked this book up for. I don't like being sort of getting this is the story of Sinbad. Like, I don't care. I want your story, not somebody else's. So yeah, I knew that this one wasn't going to be for me, and I did put that one down. And then had a few months where I didn't really DNF a lot. I had a couple. I had Demonic by Stephanie Dawn, that was a birthday present. I picked this up, I started reading it, I realised quite quickly that it was actually really badly written. So now it's just being kept on my shelves as like a little reminder of my friends, and will never be finished. And then another one that falls into that exact same category, we have The Bookshop and the Barbarian by Morgan Stang, that was a gift from Shah. And I was like, I'm in a bit of a cozy fantasy mood, I want to give more a try, let's go. I genuinely can't remember if this was this year or if it was last year, but I'm going to say it was this year. And it was just another one where it was just really gratingly written. The author was writing from a first-person perspective but kept breaking the fourth wall, but in a really awful, jarring way, and the writing was just, it read more like a middle grade, and I was like, I am not having a fun time, so I did unfortunately DNF that. I then had a while where I actually had 2-3 months, probably because I wasn't reading, I didn't DNF. But then when I was doing my horror vlog for Halloween, I DNF'd quite a few for that. I DNF'd 3 books in that one video. The first one was You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Callum Bayron. Then we had Year of the Witchling by Alexis Henderson, and The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I'm not going to go deeply into why I DNF'd each of those. You can go and watch that vlog. All I'll say is a very, very quick recap. I hated the audiobook for You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, and the romance was lackluster. Year of the Witchling, just meh. And The Only Good Indians, there was too much going on with graphic animal depictions, and I can't do that. Things involving animals I cannot do. So yeah, but for more thoughts, please do check that vlog out. And then on to my most recent ones. One that I DNF'd last week was Snowflakes and Cinnamon Swirls at the Winter Wonderland by Heidi Swain. I am not going to tell you anything about this one because it is a vlog that is coming out on the 20th or the 20-something of December, and is a romance reading vlog that I am doing, so you will find out why I gave up on this one. in a couple of weeks. One that I DNF'd yesterday was Now Conjurers by Freddie Kirsch. I started this in November, I got about 100 pages in, and then I just found I put it down one day, and it's now been a month, and nothing in me even remotely wants to pick it back up. So I've decided, okay, this one's just going to be a DNF and I'll move on. And then literally one that I DNF'd an hour before I filmed this, and that is This Christmas by Emma Hetherington. I randomly bought this 2 Christmases ago. I remember I was sat in Wetherspoon. My sister and her family had flown over from Australia, and I was waiting for them. So I just sat and read the first 50 pages of this, and then I never picked it back up again because my sister arrived that day, Ren arrived the next day, and everything just went crazy. And then last Christmas I wasn't in this country, so I left it behind. And then yeah, I picked it up for my romance vlog and was like, I have no interest in this, and I have other books for that vlog that I'm far more interested in. So I've decided I'm just going to DNF and unhaul this one. It's been 2 years, I don't care. I like to do this little recap every year talking about why I've DNF books, but I always feel really awful afterwards because I've just said so much bad stuff. So let's continue talking about bad stuff. Let me know in the comments, have you got any books that you've DNF'd this year? Were there any that were a shock to you? Or are you someone who doesn't DNF and you push through? If so, what was the book that you wish you'd DNF'd? Thank you so much for watching. I always love your support. In the meantime, I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. And until next time,